Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahakodash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone who ruled and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Ra'aya with another video, and in this video, I'll be profiling an article from the economiccollapseblog.com titled, "The Stage is Being Set for a War Between Israel and Iran to Potentially Begin Before the End of 2021. And there will be a war between Israel and Iran, which Israel is going to instigate, and it's going to play into the bigger battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, World War III over in that Middle Eastern region." This is Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 20. "Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Edom." And the biblical Edomites are known today as the so-called white race, so-called Caucasians, and those people over in the Holy Land right now calling themselves the children of the Most High are not the true children of the Most High. The true children of Israel are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Those people over in the Holy Land right now are Edomites, more specifically of the tribe of Amalek, that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And that least of the flock that's going to draw them out are those Amalekite Edomites over in the Holy Land right now. Like I just said, there will be a war between Israel and Iran, and Israel is going to instigate it, whether by a direct attack, a false flag situation where they make it look like Iran attacked them, or provocating Iran to directly attack them. And once that happens, not only is it going to draw out the United States of America and other European NATO nations in on the side of Israel, but it's also going to draw out nations like Russia and China in on the side of Iran. And again, it's going to play into the bigger battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, World War III. And while you may see little brush fires and flare-ups here and there, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat won't truly kick off until the MOTB, the MARKOFTHEBEAST, in Revelation chapter 13 verses 16 through 17, which is the RFID/NFC MICROCHIPIMPLANT is mandatorily implemented. And with each passing day, we're getting closer and closer to the mandatory implementation of the MOTB. But that's another topic in itself. What I'll be dealing with is, as it says in Jeremiah 49 verse 20, the least of the flock, drawing them out. And while the title of this article says that a war between Israel and Iran could potentially kick off by the end of 2021, we don't put a date on the prophecies of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi, but just know that we're in the times where we're getting closer and closer to this war between Israel and Iran, which is going to play into the bigger battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And Al-Baratazah, it happens as quickly as possible, because I know you other Akim feel the same way. I'm ready for these heathen nations, especially these Edomites, to go down, and Yahawashi Hamashiach to make his second coming and save his elect, which Al-Baratazah, I'm of that number, so we can rule in the kingdom of heaven. The clock has been ticking for a long time, and now Israel is telling us that Iran is only around 10 weeks away from acquiring weapons-grade materials necessary for a nuclear weapon. The Israelis have always been very clear about the fact that they will never, ever allow the Iranians to get to that point. And so that would appear to leave only 10 weeks remaining to avert a major war in the Middle East, which will never be averted. The battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat is biblical prophecy, and no peace talks or peace treaties will stop that war from coming to its fulfillment. As it says in Isaiah 55 verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. And let us certainly hope that war can be averted, because a major war in the Middle East could easily spark a full-blown global war. The battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, World War III. U.S. relations with both Russia and China continue to deteriorate very rapidly, and the Biden administration is being very aggressive with both of them. Most Americans don't pay much attention to foreign policy these days, and that is because they don't think that it will ever affect them personally, but it will. Besides the elect getting saved from the United States of America, which is biblically known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, when Yahushua HaMashiach makes his second coming, as for everybody else in the United States of America, 2/3 of the nation of Israel who refuse to return under their power, and you heathen nations, you're going to be wiped off the face of the earth when, during World War III, 200 million nuclear missiles hit the United States of America, turning it into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards. And also, during World War III, the state of Israel will be hit with nuclear missiles as well, and everybody in it's going to be wiped off the map. But the truth is that what is going on in the Middle East is of the utmost importance. A major war in the Middle East would deeply affect everyone, and right now the stage is being set for one to potentially begin before the end of 2021. And Abaratazah, that's the case. Of course, I am not setting any dates, and I am not making any predictions. I do not know if the war between Israel and Iran will start this year, next year, or sometime thereafter, but at some point there will be a war. Isaiah 55 verse 11. You can take that to the bank. The Iranians are not going to give up their nuclear program, and the Israelis will never allow them to get to a point where they can produce their own nuclear weapons. On Thursday, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz was asked a direct question about this, and he responded by saying that Israel is ready to attack Iran. Israel is ready to attack Iran. Yes, Gantz told Ynet on Thursday, we are at a point where we need to take military action against Iran. The world needs to take action against Iran now. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. He added, according to a translation of his comments, tweeted by a Ynet journalist, Attila Samfalvi. In case there was any confusion about this, Gantz gave us even more to chew on during remarks that he made to diplomats from UNSC members. Iran has violated all of the guidelines set in the JCPOA and is only around 10 weeks away from acquiring weapons-grade materials necessary for a nuclear weapon, Gantz told ambassadors from countries on the United Nations Security Council during a briefing at the Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem. Now is the time for deeds. Words are not enough, he added. It is time for diplomatic, economic, and even military deeds. Otherwise, the attacks will continue. 10 weeks from now would put us in the second half of October. Let us hope that something changes between now and then. It is always possible that Gantz is simply attempting to intimidate Iran and that an actual attack is not actively being considered, because otherwise, what Gantz is doing does not make any sense at all. If I was in his shoes, there is no way in the world that I would telegraph a potential attack. If you are going to launch a major assault on another nation, you don't tell them in advance that it is coming. Of course, the Iranians certainly appear to be doing their part to raise tensions in the region. There have been 2 more mysterious tanker attacks within the past 7 days, and both of them are being blamed on Iran. 2 tanker attack incidents within the span of less than a week are now being blamed by the US, UK, and Israel on Iran. First, there was last Thursday's Mercer Street tanker drone attack, which left 2 British and Romanian crew members dead. And then on Tuesday, there was the hijacking on the Panama-flagged Asphalt Princess, boarded by half a dozen armed Iranian militants. Since the Israeli-managed Mercer came under assault, Israeli leaders have been openly proposing military action to allies, saying it may be needed to stop the Iranian attacks. Again, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Israel says it has provided allies like the United States with hard evidence that Tehran was indeed behind the drone attack in the Arabian Sea. In the aftermath of the most recent attack, the Israelis have been going so far as to name the specific Iranian military leaders that were involved. The Defense Minister Benny Gantz and Foreign Minister Yair Lapid named on Wednesday the Iranian commanders they said were behind last week's attack on an oil tanker off the coast of Oman. Amir Ali Hajizadeh, commander of the IRGC's Air Force, is behind dozens of terror attacks in the region employing UAVs and missiles, Gantz told envoys from countries on the United Nations Security Council during a briefing at the Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem. For the first time ever, I will also expose the man who is directly responsible for the launch of suicide UAVs. His name is Saeed Arayani, and he is the head of the IRGC's UAV command. The Iranians had become accustomed to getting away with certain things, but now Naftali Bennett is in power. Bennett is younger and more aggressive than former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. When Bennett served in Netanyahu's cabinet, he was often frustrated by Netanyahu's unwillingness to take more aggressive action against Israel's enemies. And these are the type of heathens we need in power, war hawks who are itching for war. Now it is Bennett's turn to run the show, and he certainly sounds like a man that is thinking about war. We would like the world to understand that the Iranian regime is violent and fanatical, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett said last month. It selected the hangman of Tehran as its president, a man who was willing to starve his own people for years in order to have a military nuclear program. That is a regime that one should not do business with. Bennett added that Israel will continue to consult with our friends, persuade, discuss, and share information and insights out of mutual respect. But at the end of the day, we will be responsible for our own fate, for nobody else. These are ominous words, but to those that are in the know, these are beautiful words. We're seeing biblical prophecy taking place right before our very eyes, and before long, the least of the flock shall draw them out, and it's going to kick off the bigger battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, World War III, and nothing will happen to avert these prophecies from coming to their fulfillment. Again, Isaiah 55 verse 11. So with this article, let's get into some more precepts. This is Revelation chapter 9 verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, speaking of World War I. And behold, there come two woes more hereafter, World War II, which is past, and this upcoming World War III, the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the War of Armageddon, which will go nuclear. This is Joel chapter 3, I'm going to start at verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, the heathen Gentiles, which is exactly what the true men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, are doing by going out onto the highways and byways, as well as putting up video epistles like this, proclaiming among you heathen Gentiles too, prepare for war, prepare for World War III, prepare for the War of Armageddon, prepare for the battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, prepare for a war between Israel and Iran. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, ye Edomites, or so-called white people, ye Ishmaelites, or the so-called Arabs, the Moabites, or the so-called Chinese, the Elamites of the so-called East Indians, etc., etc., and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh, and those mighty ones are the death angels holding back this great destruction, waiting for the go-ahead from the Most High to release it, which is going to happen after the MOTB is mandatorily implemented. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh's Shaphat in the Hebrew, which means Yahweh's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And when you go up to the first couple of verses in this chapter, you'll see that the Most High is gathering these heathen nations down into the valley of Jehoshaphat to judge them for touching the apple of his eye, the children of Israel, who are again the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the chief nation that has afflicted the children of Israel, as pursuant to Psalms chapter 83, are you Edomites. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision, and the day of Yahweh is very near in the valley of decision. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.